Hey guys, tonight we slip quietly into a world that's not just old, it's frozen. Imagine this. You wake beneath a blanket that's stiff with frost. Your breath curls in pale ribbons above your face, and the first thing you feel is not the warmth of morning, but the sharp bite of air that never really left your room. Welcome to winter. In medieval Europe, no heater, no hot cocoa, no fuzzy socks with little bears on them, just the cold, everywhere. You probably won't survive this. So before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you genuinely enjoy what I do here. And hey, drop your location and local time in the comments. I'd love to know who's out there listening in the dark. Now, dim the lights, maybe turn on a fan for that soft background hum, and let's ease into tonight's journey together. You open your eyes just before sunrise, but this isn't golden sunlight pouring in. It's a pale, colorless glow leaking through cracked shutters like the day itself is too tired to show up. Your blanket, thin woolen and more patched than fabric, didn't do much. Your tunic sticks to you where you've sweated in your sleep, and your nose frozen solid. You sit up, straw crackles underneath. Cold air rushes down the back of your neck like spilled water. You shiver. Your hands, red stiff, cracked. You rub them together for warmth. It doesn't help. They're more like tools now, less part of you, more something you use to stay alive. You slide off the bed. The floor is ice-cold timber. It feels like stepping on stone. You wince. You always do. Your first job. Break the ice in the wash basin. Yes, ice. The water froze. Again. You splash your face. It burns. Wide awake now. You check the hearth. Just ash. Not a spark. No ember to coax. So, time to go outside. Because that's where the firewood is. You tug open the cottage door. It groans. Frozen in place. You push with your shoulder. Hard. It cracks open and a wall of cold air hits you like a slap. Outside, everything's white. Not soft, pretty snow. Just hard frost clinging to frozen mud. Your breath hangs heavy. You shuffle toward the woodpile. Your apron is stiff. Your feet slip. The ground is mean this time of year, slick with ice, sharp with broken twigs. One wrong step and there goes your ankle. The woodpile is disappointing. Mostly twigs, no logs left. You gather what you can, hugging the bundle to your chest. Back inside, you crouch by the hearth. Flint, steel, moss. You strike and strike. A spark. Tiny flame. You feed it carefully. Breath held. Hands steady. Success. But the fire is small. It'll warm your fingers maybe. Not the room. You sit there watching the flame. Listening to it crackle. It's hypnotic. And just for a second you pretend it's enough. But you know better. The chill still presses in, sliding through every crack in the wall, every loose board, every gap under the door. Your window. It's not glass, just oiled parchment stretched tight. Lets in a bit of light. No warmth. You sip a hot drink. Well, hot might be generous. It's probably boiled barley water, maybe with a few herbs. You try to imagine it's tea. It isn't. You glance over at the bed. Your children, if you have any, are still sleeping. Bundled tight. All of you share the bed at night. That's not comfort, that's necessity. Body heat is the only blanket you can count on. Wealth wouldn't change much. Castles were cold too. Huge halls, stone walls, fireplaces the size of wagons that somehow failed to heat the room. Lords huddled in furs. Servants stood close to the fire until their faces burned and their backs froze. Historians still argue whether early winters were colder than later ones, but most agree on this medieval winters were harsh, colder than now, and survival depended on luck and layers. People wrapped hot stones in cloth and tucked them under the blankets. Sounds cozy, until one burns through the wool, or loses heat before midnight. You hear your neighbor outside. Boots crunch, a cough, then the faint jingle of a bell on his cart. He sees you, gives a slow nod. You nod back. That's winter language. It means still alive. You watch your breath curl. Watch the fire flicker. This is how your day begins. No rush, no sunlight. Just a quiet war between flame and frost. And you're in the middle of it. Wrapped in wool, holding on. Breathing slowly, waiting for spring. The fire crackles. Just a little. Just enough to keep the tips of your fingers from going numb. But that warmth, It doesn't spread. Not really. The walls stay cold. The air feels like it's holding its breath. Your breath fogs the air again, a soft cloud drifting in silence. Outside, the sun is finally rising. But it doesn't bring warmth, only light. Thin winter light. Cold as bone. Time to move. Because sitting still too long means the cold wins. And you're not ready to give in yet. You lace your boots rough leather stiff with use. You pull on your outer tunic, then a hood. The fabric smells like wood smoke and something faintly sour, but it's what you have. Stepping outside your boots crunch softly on frost. The fields stretch out before you, silent and white. No crops, just the bony remains of last season's harvest. The world feels empty, still, as if it's waiting. You pass by the well, the bucket's frozen solid. You'll have to chip through the ice just to get a little water. You swing the rope down anyway, hoping. It hits with a dull thunk. Ice, no surprise. You sigh, then begin the long walk to the village. There's no food in the house this morning. Not really. Maybe a crust of bread. Maybe a few shriveled onions. If you're lucky, a bit of smoked meat tucked away from the autumn slaughter. So you walk, because even when there's nothing, you go anyway. To the mill, to the market, to check on the others. Your neighbor's door is open a crack. You knock softly as you pass. A face peers out, red-nosed, wrapped in a shawl. You exchange a look, no words, just that same nod. Still here, still cold. You keep moving. Along the way, you spot a bundle in the snow. At first, you think it's firewood, but no, just someone's cloak fallen from a passing cart. You pick it up, shake the snow off. Too thin to be useful. Still, someone might want it back. You drape it over your arm and continue on. In the village square, a few others have gathered. Not many. Just enough to remind you that people are still surviving. A man is selling root vegetables, mostly turnips. One carrot. They're ugly and frozen, but food is food. You trade a bit of wool thread for 2 small turnips. The man grunts. His beard is stiff with ice. Across the square, a woman pours hot broth into tiny wooden cups. It smells like onion and old bones. You buy one. You sip slowly. The warmth travels down your throat like sunlight in reverse. You sit on a stone bench, wrapped in your cloak. Steam rising from the cup. You don't speak. No one does. It's too early and too cold. There's a silence in winter villages, a thick, respectful hush. Even dogs bark less. Even children stay quiet. Historians still argue whether daily life in winter was more bearable for peasants or nobles. The truth, neither had it easy. Peasants faced hunger, disease, frostbite, but nobles in their drafty halls faced long weeks of boredom, darkness, and strangely fear, because winter made everyone smaller. You sip the last of the broth. The cup is warm in your hands. You tuck it inside your cloak to hold on to the heat just a little longer. Then it's time to walk again. You pass the church. The bell isn't ringing today. Maybe the priest is ill. Or maybe it's too cold even for faith this morning. Still, you glance upward. The spire is dusted in frost. A pigeon sits there, ruffled and hunched like a tiny old man. Back on the road, you hear the creak of wagon wheels. A cart goes by its driver, wrapped in furs. You nod. He nods. No one smiles in the cold. Lips crack. The cart carries hay, not for people, for the animals, the lucky ones with barns. You finally reach the edge of your little, holding your home, your patch of land. The goat is alive. That's good. She gives a soft bleat as you open the barn. Inside, it's dark and warmer. The straw smells musty. You feed her what you can. She nozzles your hand. Warm breath, rough tongue. In moments like this, you forget the hunger, forget the aches. You just exist in the hush of winter. People tried all sorts of things to keep warm. They stuffed their clothes with straw. They shared beds with siblings, parents, even neighbors. In one old tale, a family let the dog sleep on the bed just for heat, not for company. A quirky little detail. Some folks slept sitting up. They thought lying flat made you easier prey for night vapors. Whatever those were, probably just cold air or bad dreams. By late morning, you're back inside. The fire is still alive, barely. You poke it, feed it a twig, blow gently. It flares. You sit close, tucking your knees to your chest. And for a few precious minutes, you feel almost human, almost safe. Outside, the wind picks up. It hisses through the cracks. The door rattles, the sky darkens, snow again. You pull the cloak tighter, sip from a bowl of thin broth and stare at the flame. You made it through another morning, but winter is far from over. The wind outside never really stops. It just shifts. Sometimes it howls, sometimes it whispers, but it's always there, pressing against the walls, sneaking through the shutters, breathing down the back of your neck like a ghost with cold lungs. You sit by the fire, hands outstretched. The heat only touches your skin for a second before the air steals it away. Your boots are off now. Your socks, if you're lucky enough to have them, are damp. They've frozen into a stiff curl. You place them by the hearth, but they'll take hours to dry. And even then, they'll still smell like mud and wood smoke. The room is dim, even at midday, because medieval winters weren't just cold. They were dark. Sunrise came late. Sunset came early. You'd wake in shadow and sleep in it too. Candles were expensive, so was lamp oil. If you wanted light, you sat near the fire, or squinted near a shutter, or didn't read at all. Not that you can read. Most people couldn't. Books were for the church, for monks, and even they had trouble seeing in winter. You glance at the tiny window, just a sheet of animal skin stretched tight, oiled to let light in. It's yellowish like old wax, and it's stiff with frost. You press your palm against it. Ice clings to the edges. Your hand leaves a smudge of warmth, but it fades quickly. Back to the fire. You poke it with a stick. It flares briefly, then settles into its usual lazy dance. You shift your weight trying to get comfortable, but your back aches, your shoulders ache, even your jaw aches from clenching against the cold in your sleep. There's a knock on the door. Soft, 3 taps. You pull it open just a crack, and a blast of icy air barges in without asking. It's your cousin, wrapped in fur, nose red, eyes squinting. He asks for broth, or bread, or just to sit near your fire for a while. You let him in. Of course you do, because winter is not the time for pride. He sits close, hands spread to the flame. You don't talk much. There's not much to say. After a while, he reaches into his coat and pulls out something wrapped in cloth. It's a potato, tiny, shriveled, but real. He tosses it into the coals. You raise an eyebrow. He shrugs. Supper. 10 minutes later, you fish it out with a stick. Charred. Hissing. You slice it in half with a dull knife and share it. It tastes like ash and hope. You eat slowly, chewing each bite like it's treasure. You remember how people used to say that winter builds character, that it tests the soul, but honestly, it just wears you down. You think about the animals, the chickens huddled together, the goat curled up in straw, the pigs, if you still have any, covered in blankets of their own filth and steam. Some families even kept livestock indoors, not out of affection, but for warmth. Imagine sleeping beside a cow. It's not cozy, it's not clean, but her body heat might keep your toes from blackening. Historians still argue whether peasant homes had proper chimneys in this period. Some say yes, others say just a hole in the roof. Either way, you smell like smoke, all the time. Not the good kind, not woodsy cabin in the forest smoke, but the heavy throat-burning kind that makes your eyes water and your clothes reek. And yet, you still huddle close, because what else is there? Later that day, you chop kindling. The axe is dull. The wood is frozen. It splits reluctantly, groaning like an old man with a secret. Your fingers go numb again, so you tuck them into your armpits between swings, just for a few seconds, just to remind them they're alive. Your cousin helps, not because he wants to, because it has to be done. Wood is everything in winter. It means heat. It means boiling water. It means soup. If you have anything to boil in the first place. Some people burn peat. Others dry animal dung and stack it like bricks. A quirky detail. In parts of medieval Iceland, families even dried fish bones and burned those. Smelled awful. But heat was heat. You think about that as the axe thuds again and again and again. By the time you return inside, you're sweating beneath your cloak. And somehow, still cold, your cousin leaves after dark, which comes early. He wraps his potato cloth around his neck and vanishes into the blue dusk. You close the door, slide the wooden bar into place, tug the blanket down over the frame to keep the wind out. It won't work, not completely, but it's something. You sit by the fire, cradling a clay mug of warm broth. You sip, breathe, listen to the pop of the coals. The world outside has gone quiet again. The kind of quiet that settles on rooftops and seeps into bones. The stars are out. You can't see them, but you know they're there, frozen above you watching. You wonder if they're cold too. And then, you pull the blankets over your shoulders, curl into the straw and close your eyes. The fire still glows. You made it through another day. You wake in the dark. Again. The fire is low, just soft orange embers, barely clinging to life. You can't feel your nose. Your toes have vanished somewhere into the cold. Your breath fogs the air, just like yesterday. Just like the day before that. Like it always does. You groan softly, stretched beneath the coarse blankets. They've slipped halfway off during the night. And the straw beneath you, it's damp. Again. You roll onto your side knees, pulled to your chest, trying to remember the last time you were truly warm. It's been a while. Outside the wind moans low. Not a storm. Not yet. Just winter's quiet warning. You sit up, rub your arms, stumble to the hearth. One ember still glows deep in the ashes. You whisper a quick thanks to whoever's listening and begin feeding the fire. A twig, a scrap of bark, a thin sliver of last summer's sun, long dried and ready to burn. It catches, just enough. You hunch close hands trembling in the flickering light. You're awake now. Might as well stay that way. You pull on your layers, linen, wool, anything you can find. Layer after layer, like a walking onion with cold feet. No buttons, no zippers, just ties and wraps. Everything scratchy, everything stiff, but it keeps you from freezing. Mostly. The outer door groans as you open it, and the morning greets you with silence. Fresh snow, soft and deep, untouched. The kind of snow that makes everything feel holy, or haunted. You're not sure which. You step outside. The first crunch of your boot breaks the spell. The cold slaps your cheeks, nips at your fingers, climbs inside your sleeves. You curse softly, then keep walking, because today you have to fetch water. The well is a short walk, but even short walks in winter feel like pilgrimages. The ground crunches with ice, tree branches snap with frost, and your breath trails behind you like a ghost that can't keep up. At the well you find the rope frozen stiff, the bucket's crusted over. You chip at the ice with a stone, then lower the bucket slowly. It hits with a wet sound. Success. You crank it up, arm straining, muscles sore. The rope creaks, the wheel groans, and the water sloshes gently inside the pail. Not much, but enough. You carry it back, careful not to spill. Every drop matters. Inside the fire has revived. Just a little. You warm your hands again. The skin is red, cracked at the knuckles. You flex your fingers. Pain sparks through them. They still work. Good enough. You pour some water into a pot. Add a pinch of salt. A wilted sprig of herb. A bone maybe if you saved one from last week's stew. You let it simmer. Let the steam rise. Fill the air with something that almost smells like food. Almost. You eat slowly, sipping the thin broth. Each mouthful is warmth. Each swallow a tiny victory. You hear a knock, 2 taps, then one more. You open the door. It's the neighbor's boy. His cheeks are red. He holds out a bundle, a small cloth parcel. Inside dried beans. You nod. Grateful. You offer him a spoonful of broth. He shakes his head, but you insist. He sits awkward by the hearth. You both eat quietly. No need for talk. This is winter hospitality. It's not grand, it's not loud. It's just sharing what little you have. Historians still argue whether medieval villagers shared food out of kindness or desperation. Probably both. You've seen people do strange things in winter. Hide food from their own family. Steal turnips from the church. Swap a chicken for a candle. Need makes you creative. You send the boy home with a bit of firewood. He grins. It's a crooked grin missing a few teeth. But it's real. And then you're alone again. You sit back down, listening to the fire, letting your thoughts drift. You think about summer. You try to remember the feeling of sun on your skin, of lying in grass, of warm nights with open windows and buzzing flies. It feels like someone else's life. You shift, stretching your legs toward the fire. The socks are finally dry. You pull them on. They itch, but they're warm. You sigh, loudly, the kind of sigh that comes from deep in your belly. Not sadness exactly, Just the weight of being alive in a season that wants you gone. A quirky tidbit. Some medieval folks believed that winter air was thick with poison, invisible particles that made you sick just by breathing. So they hung herbs near windows, they stuffed lavender in their sleeves. Some even wore little bags of garlic around their necks. Did it help? Not really, but it smelled interesting. The snow keeps falling. You watch it through the window. Soft flakes drifting like feathers from a broken sky. You wonder how many more weeks this will last. How many more days of cracked lips, stiff joints and cold feet. But for now you're fed. You're dressed. You're by the fire. It's enough. You pull the blanket around your shoulders, tuck your legs beneath you, and lean your head back. The flames dance. Your eyelids drift. And for a moment, you feel peace. Just for a moment. You open your eyes, and it's still snowing. Still. Not heavily, just enough to remind you that winter's not done with you yet. Your back aches as you stretch. The fire burned down again, overnight. Of course it did. It always does. Firewood disappears like magic this time of year. One moment it's stacked high, the next. Smoke and ash. You pull on your cloak. Not because it's stylish. It's not. It smells like smoke and old goat. But it's warm. And that's what matters. Outside, your breath rises in clouds. The air bites gently, like it's teasing. You walk to the shed, really just a leaning stack of wood with a roof nailed over it. Inside, a few logs, some twigs, a pile of bark that might burn if you're lucky. You sigh. You know it won't last a week. You'll need more, which means a trip to the forest. You're not thrilled, no one is. But winter doesn't care. So you sling your hatchet over your shoulder, wrap an extra scarf around your mouth, and set off. The walk to the woods is quiet. Unnaturally quiet. Even the birds have stopped complaining. Everything's wrapped in white trees, paths your eyelashes. You trudge boots crunching through crusty layers. Each step sinks a little deeper than the last. You spot a fox trail, just a line of tiny paw prints weaving between trees. And for a second, you wonder what that fox is doing right now. Curled in a burrow, wrapped in its own tail, smart fox. You keep walking. By the time you reach the clearing, your thighs are numb. Your nose has stopped working. But at least you made it. You pick a tree, not too big. You're not a hero. And start swinging. The hatchet sings. Thwack, thwack, thwack. Chips fly. Your breath fogs the air. And after 10 minutes, you're sweating like it's midsummer. It's strange how chopping wood in winter makes you feel alive. Finally, the tree creaks. It leans, then falls not gracefully, but with a clumsy crash that startles a raven into flight. You grin. Just a little. You saw the trunk into smaller chunks, then gather them into a crude bundle, tie them with twine, and hoist them onto your back. The walk home is slower, heavier, but warmer. You stop halfway, rest against a rock, and sip from your water flask. It tastes like metal and cold stone, but it's wet, so you drink. A fringe fact. Some medieval folks added onions to their water to keep it fresh. Didn't help much, but at least it gave it flavor. When you return, your arms are shaking. Your fingers twitch. You dump the bundle beside the door and head straight inside. The warmth greets you like an old friend, gruff, and a little too quiet but comforting. You feed the fire, piece by piece, until it flares up again. You sit beside it, hands stretched forward, feet bear steam rising from your damp socks. You made it. Another errand, another bit of survival. You laugh softly. It escapes like steam. Winter has a way of making you proud of the smallest victories. Like carrying logs, like not falling in the snow, like keeping your water from freezing overnight. You eat bread, hard bread. You dip it in the broth until it softens, then chew slowly. Not delicious, but filling. You remember a saying, better cold and full than warm and hungry. You're not sure who said it, but it feels true. Afternoon light filters through the window, which really means it's slightly less dark than morning. You take this as a sign. Time to patch your boots. The left sole's flapping like a loose tooth. You fish out a needle, some thick thread, a bit of hide. You sit near the fire, threading the needle with fingers still stiff. Poke, pull, stitch, again and again. Your hands know the rhythm. Historians still argue whether most peasants learned these basic repairs themselves or relied on cobblers. Truth is, you couldn't afford to wait. or to pay, so you learned. Your neighbor stops by, he brings a bit of dried fruit, says it's his daughter's name day. You nod, accept the gift, offer him a seat. He talks about a nearby village, how their well froze, how their grain ran out. You listen, because listening is also surviving. He says someone tried to trade a belt for a loaf of bread. Didn't work. You both stare into the fire. The flames pop, a log hisses. Finally he leaves, and silence returns. Evening comes faster than expected. Always does. You shut the shutters, bolt the door, draw the curtain. Another day wrapped in white and smoke tucked itself away. You sit beside the hearth, knees drawn up, blanket over your shoulders. You breathe in and out, and you wonder how many more nights until the thaw. How many more days of scraping frost from the walls, of chewing frozen roots, of waking up to cold hands. No answers, just firelight, and the wind tapping at your walls like a curious guest. You lean your head back, close your eyes. You've done what you could. The logs are stacked, the boots are stitched, the fire is alive, and so are you. You sleep lightly, even now, even in the middle of winter. Your ears stay alert, listening for creaks, for wind, for anything unusual. You're not paranoid, just practical. In this world, a loose shutter can sound like a thief, and a falling branch can startle you awake like a war drum. But tonight the sounds are familiar. The wind sighs around the eaves. The fire pops. The wood settles. Safe enough. You shift under your blanket. The straw beneath you itches, but you've gotten used to that. What you can't get used to is the cold that seeps in through the floor, creeps into your bones, like a quiet guest who never leaves. Still you drift. Sleep comes in slow waves. Not deep, but just enough. Morning, again. You don't open your eyes right away. You don't want to, because if you open them, you'll see your breath. And if you see your breath, you'll have to get up. And once you get up, the day begins. So, you lie still. For one more minute, maybe two. Eventually you sigh, stretch, reach for your cloak, and sit up. The fire is out. Of course it is. Your fingers tingle as you push aside the blanket. The air nips at your face like a bored cat. Not malicious, just constantly testing your patience. You pad across the room, feet stiff with cold. Reach for your flint and steel. You strike, and strike again, and again. Tiny sparks, barely alive, bounce into the tinder. No flame. You blow gently, carefully, like you're coaxing a secret. Then finally a glow. You add a twig, a shred of bark, a breath, and then, there it is, a flame. You sit back, hands outstretched, and wait. You break your fast with leftover bread, hard as a roof tile. You dunk it in warm broth until it stops resisting. Each bite echoes in your skull, a crunchy reminder that food isn't always kind. Still, you eat. Because hunger in winter isn't poetic. It's not noble. It's just slow and mean. You chew thinking about what's left in the storage. A few roots, some beans, one turnip that looks suspicious, and two salted fish that smell like punishment. You'll stretch it. You have to. People say eat less in winter, move less. Easy to say when your belly's full. Outside the village feels frozen in place. Roofs sag under snow. Smoke curls from chimneys too lazy to rise. You walk down the narrow path between houses, feet crunching through old ice. You nod at a neighbor, she's carrying a bucket of slush. Not water, just not ice. Good enough. She smiles without teeth. You wave, you stop at the chapel. It's small, just stone and shadows. You step inside. The door groans like an old man. Inside, dim light, cold walls, the smell of wax and earth. You don't stay long, just long enough to breathe different air, to whisper something small, not quite a prayer, more like a sigh with direction. You make your way to the commons. Today is share day, where people swap goods, roots for rags, milk for soap, stories for silence. You bring a carved spoon, handmade a little crooked but useful. You trade it for a slice of dried apple and two stubby candles. You've done worse. Someone tries to swap rabbit fur for a boiled egg. It ends in a grumble match. No blows. Not today. A child sneezes. Everyone flinches. You pretend not to notice. Historians still argue whether these communal trades were driven by cooperation or necessity. Probably both. No one wants to beg, but everyone wants to eat. You remember last year a man tried to trade shoes stuffed with straw, called them winter boots. Nobody laughed. Someone took the deal. They're probably wearing them right now. You leave the commons as the sun begins its lazy descent, still mid-afternoon. But winter doesn't play fair with daylight. The wind sharpens. You pull your cloak tighter. Your boots squeak with every frozen step. At home, you light one of your new candles. The flame flickers nervously, like it's not sure it wants to stay. You set it by the fire, where it will keep the shadows from getting too confident. Then you sit, stretch your legs, breathe. You survived another errand. You reward yourself with half the apple slice. You savor it, chew slowly, close your eyes, and for a second you taste summer. Sun, green leaves, the smell of orchard grass. Then it's gone. You use the rest of the candlelight to patch a tunic. Needle, thread, thumb pricked once. You mutter a curse and stick your finger in your mouth. Still PG-13 though. You glance at the wax, almost gone. You finish the last stitch, tie it off, fold the tunic. It'll hold for a few more weeks, maybe. A quirky tidbit. Some villagers believed that sewing off the sunset invited bad luck. They said you might trap a spirit in the thread, or stitch your soul into your sleeve. You glance down at your patchwork shirt. If something's stuck in there, it's probably just the smell of stew. Night falls fast. The cold follows. You stack more wood by the hearth. Pour hot water into a cup. Add a pinch of herbs for calmness, or whatever the neighbor claimed. You drink. It tastes like boiled leaves and regret. But it's warm. You listen to the fire. Watch the shadows. You think about spring. It always feels like a rumor, like something someone once described but no one's really seen. Still, you believe, because you have to. Hope is like fire, small but stubborn. You tuck yourself into bed, blanket over nose, feet curled tight. Your eyes drift shut, and you whisper not to anyone in particular. Almost there. The next morning you wake up with a sneeze. It echoes against the walls, startles a bird outside, and rattles your skull just enough to remind you, yep, still winter. Still breathing, barely. You sniff, wipe your nose on a threadbare sleeve, and mutter to yourself, could be worse. That's your new motto. A little mantra for mornings when your toes feel like icicles and the air tastes like dry bark. You sit up slowly. The fire's gone out again, because of course it has. Your blanket, now stiff at the corners, peels away from your shoulders like old parchment. The floor beneath you is colder than the sky outside. A reminder in medieval winters, you don't wake up. You just stop being unconscious. You shuffle to the hearth, start the fire again. Sparks tinder a grunt of frustration. Eventually, flame. One small victory before breakfast. Now here's a fun fact. Medieval people didn't usually eat 3 meals a day. They called it breaking fast for a reason, because sometimes you had to wait a long while to do it. Your first bite might come mid-morning, maybe later, depending on your chores, or what was left in the pantry. Today you warm a ladle of barley gruel over the fire. It jiggles when you stir it like a sad cousin of oatmeal. You blow on it, sip. It tastes like warmth, and not much else. But you finish it, because this is fuel, and you'll need it. Outside the sun rises reluctantly. It casts a pale smear of light over the snowy rooftops. Everything glows silver and grey, like the world's been painted with dirty chalk. Your boots creak as you pull them on. Still damp from yesterday. Still heavy. You grab your satchel, your cloak, your gloves with the missing thumb and step out into the cold. Your breath hangs in the air like fog. You walk. Today's job, wood collecting. No, not chopping. Not yet. You're just gathering fallen branches from the edge of the woods. The kindling kind. The kind that doesn't complain when your axe is dull and your hands are tired. You trudge down the narrow path, feet crunching against frost. Birds chirp in the distance, but it sounds more like they're arguing. Trees creak, snow drips. Somewhere a raven caws. You make it to the trees. They loom like frozen giants. Still, tall, patient. You nod in greeting. Because why not? You start your work. 1 stick, 2 sticks, a snapped branch that looks like it might be cursed, you take it anyway. You stack the wood into bundles, tie them with twine. Your fingers sting from the cold. Your back aches, but the rhythm keeps you grounded. Pick, bundle, breathe, pick, bundle, breathe. A quirky tidbit. In some villages, they believed trees could whisper to each other during the winter, that they held their breath and passed secrets along the roots beneath the snow. You smile at the thought. If these trees are gossiping, you hope they're kind. Back in the village, the blacksmith is hammering something heavy. The clang echoes down the street like a heartbeat made of iron. A couple of kids are throwing snowballs and pretending they're knights. One wears a pot for a helmet. The other has a ladle for a sword. Creative, and only mildly dangerous. You nod as you pass. He waves his ladle. You salute with a stick. Respect. You reach home and toss the wood beside the hearth. There's enough now for a few nights. Maybe even a week if you ration carefully. You heat water for washing. It's barely lukewarm, but it feels luxurious. You wipe your face, your hands the back of your neck. The cloth steams in the air. You press it to your face and breathe in deeply. It smells like pine and a little bit of smoke. You sit and rest. Later that afternoon, you go to check on your neighbor, old man Godric. He's been quiet for days. You knock softly. The door creaks open on its own. You hesitate, step inside. It's dark, but he's there hunched near the fire, wrapped in every blanket he owns. You offer him a turnip and a bit of dried apple. He grins, thanks you with a wheeze, tells you a story you've heard 5 times before about a goat and a runaway cart. You laugh anyway, because kindness costs less than a candle. Historians still argue you remember reading somewhere whether the extended networks of medieval village life were formed out of genuine affection or mutual desperation. It doesn't matter really, because when winter sinks its teeth in, everyone clings together, whether they like it or not. On your way home, the sky begins to shift. Colors bleed from gray into bruised purple and pale gold. Sunset, early again. You pause, look up. The clouds move slowly, like ships across a frozen sea. You think of spring, of mud, of green leaves and open windows. You imagine the sound of bees, of frogs croaking near streams. Not yet, but soon. Soonish. You sigh, tug your cloak tighter, and walk home. Inside, the fire greets you with a low crackle. You feed it one small log carefully chosen. Then you sit and begin to mend your satchel. 1 stitch at a time, each one a little crooked, but steady. Your hands have grown rough from the cold. Knuckles cracked, nails bitten short. You remember how your mother used to smear lard on her hands in winter. Called it peasant's lotion. You might try that tomorrow. Or maybe not. You end the evening with something special. A treat you've been saving. A small wedge of cheese wrapped in cloth. Not much, but sharp and tangy. You nibble it slowly, eyes closed, imagining a feast. Bread with seeds, honey on a spoon, fresh apples. It's a dream. But tonight it feels close, like something you once held and might hold again. You crawl into bed, pull the blanket high, and tuck your feet in tight. The fire dims, the candle flickers. Outside, the wind begins its night song. Low, lonely, constant. You listen, not afraid, just aware. Aware of how deep winter runs, how quiet the world becomes, and how soft your own breath sounds when everything else has hushed. You close your eyes, whisper to no one at all, still here. You wake up again to a world wrapped in ice. The cold isn't just outside, it's inside too. In your bones, your breath, your dreams. Your body doesn't want to move, but you stretch slowly anyway. You feel the stiff pull in your muscles like leather straps tightened overnight. The chill clings to you not just on your skin, but deeper, somewhere hard to shake. You open your eyes fully. Outside your window, the snow glitters a field of tiny stars fallen gently to earth. A silver hush lies over everything. No footsteps, no birds, not even the rustle of wind. You pull your cloak tighter. The wool smells faintly of smoke. It's heavy on your shoulders, but not quite enough to chase away the ache in your bones. You step outside into the frozen breath of the morning. Your own breath spills out in white clouds, thick and slow, like ghosts drifting away. They fade into the still air without a sound. The village is quiet, too quiet, but winter has a way of hiding life beneath its snowy blanket. What seems empty may still be holding warmth. Somewhere. You walk down the path. Each step crunches beneath your boots, a soft, sharp whisper like old parchment folding. The trees you pass are bare twisted arms raised to the sky as if asking for something they know won't come. Their bark cracks with frost. You pause to run your hand across one. It feels dry, splintered. You wonder what stories these trees hold. If they remember the summers that once danced in their leaves. If they miss the song of birds, the weight of apples, the soft fingers of green. The well waits ahead. It stands like a forgotten guardian at the edge of the path. Frost clings to the stones. The bucket rope is stiff, frozen into long curves. You take it carefully, lower it down, inch by inch. The wood creaks. The rope groans. Then you hear it, the soft splash of water far below. Cold and dark. The bucket rises again, heavy dripping. The water it holds is clearer than glass. It smells like stone and silence. Ice clinks against the sides, little shards of winter. You tip it gently into a pail. The sound it makes is like music. Brief, delicate, and then gone. Not far away you hear laughter. It slices through the quiet, bright and wild. Children, playing, even now. They're bundled in layers that don't seem thick enough, scarves too short, mittens missing fingers. But they run and roll and chase, kicking up powdery snow as if it were summer dust. One girl's scarf comes loose, trailing behind her like a banner. She doesn't stop to fix it. She's too busy laughing. You smile without meaning to. You remember what it felt like to run like that, when cold was just part of the fun and winter was just a longer game. But you know better now. You felt the kind of cold that settles in your chest, that finds the soft places and stays there. You walk on. The market square is quieter than usual, but there's still life here. A blacksmith works beneath a makeshift shelter, his breath clouding thick in the air. Each hammer strike rings sharp and steady, a heartbeat made of metal. The sound echoes off the stone walls. A woman sits nearby selling woolen mittens, her hands red and cracked from spinning yarn. Still she smiles. Her eyes crinkle at the corners. She offers you a pair. You nod and trade a wedge of cheese for some dried berries, raspberries you think. You taste one. It's like a burst of summer hidden in frost. Sweet, a little sharp, gone too fast. You pass the frozen river next. The surface is hard but not smooth. Ridges of ice bend and break, scarring the mirror-like finish. You crouch beside it. Place your hand on the ice. It's slick and cold and alive in a strange, quiet way. You remember a tale from your childhood. They said if you whispered your wishes to the river in winter, the spirits below would hear them. Carry them downstream under the ice, through the winding bends until they reach someone who could make them come true. It sounds foolish, but you do it anyway. You lean close, whisper something small, something private. The air steals your words, lifting them like breath. You don't expect magic, but hope. Hope still stirs like a spark in cold hands. Historians still argue whether these so-called water spirits were ancient myths, folk imagination, or something more, a ritual to feel less alone during endless frozen months. Maybe the stories were just that, but maybe they were also a way of speaking to the world when it refused to speak back. You return home as the light begins to fade. The sky turns from pale gold to soft grey, then bruised purple. Your breath fogs the air again. The door creaks as you open it, the hinges complaining softly. Inside, it's not warm, not yet, but it's quiet. Yours. You tend the fire, kneeling beside the cold hearth. The embers from earlier are nothing but ash. You start again. Kindling first, small and careful. A gentle breath, then another, and then flame. It catches curls and dances, orange and gold, like a promise. You sit close. Feel the heat lick slowly at your fingers, your knees, your cheeks. The shadows it casts move like slow memories, shifting on the walls in shapes you almost recognize. Dinner is simple. Root vegetables boiled down into something soft. A few scraps of meat. A handful of dried herbs saved for moments like this. It smells earthy like the inside of a cellar. You eat slowly. Every bite feels earned. Not delicious, but comforting. Like someone humming a lullaby you once knew by heart. Later you light a candle. The flame flickers in its tiny pool of wax, glowing like a pocket of sunlight trapped in a jar. You pull out a book worn soft at the corners. Its pages are rough edges smudged with years. You turn them carefully and read. Of knights and queens. Of dragons maybe. Of places where the cold never came and the air always smelled like orange blossoms. You let the words carry you slowly, gently, like a boat floating down a quiet river. Outside, the wind begins to howl. It presses against the walls, rattles the shutters, but inside you are safe. The fire is burning. The candle is low. Your eyes grow heavy. You close the book, blow out the light, curl up under the thickest blanket you own, and let your thoughts drift. You think of spring again, the way the world smells when snow melts, how the dirt turns rich and black, ready to grow things again. You think of birds returning, of bare branches blossoming into soft green lace. That thought is your lullaby, soft, gentle, promising. You breathe in, exhale slowly, and like the snow falling outside, soft, silent, sure you fall asleep. You wake to a muted dawn, the world outside wrapped in heavy grey light like a blanket pulled over the face of the earth. Snow has fallen deeper overnight. You can feel it even before you look. That extra hush, that subtle stillness, the kind that settles into your bones before you even swing your feet to the floor. You sit up slowly, wrapped in your woolen blanket, watching your breath form faint clouds in the chill air. The fire burned low in the night. Its embers are faint now, just enough to glow, not enough to warm. You rub your hands together, draw the blanket closer, and finally you stand. Each step is careful, quiet. Even the floorboards seem slower to creak. You pause by the window, and yes, the snow has come. Heavy, pale, and deep. Blanketing rooftops and fences, weighing down the thatched edges of homes. The village is motionless, tucked in like a sleeping child. Not a single bird in the sky. No distant dogs barking. Only the soft whisper of wind through bare branches. You pull on your cloak. Its wool is thick, but no match for the cold that presses in from every angle. Layer by layer, you armor yourself against the creeping frost. Your breath fogs in front of your face as you step out into the morning. Boots crunch against new snow, a crisp sound, soft but sharp. Each step is a gentle intrusion into the quiet world. The village is quieter than usual, and that's saying something. A few neighbors move about, bundled tightly, heads low. They don't speak, just nod as you pass. Simple gestures, but somehow warmer than words. Your task this morning is with the animals. The livestock need checking, they always do in this season. The pens are near the edge of the village, past the empty garden beds, past the wooden fence that creaks in the wind. You reach them. The animals huddle together, their breath steaming in the air. A rhythm of life, slow and soft, in a world that feels frozen in time. You open the gate slowly, the latch brittle with frost. The sheep blink at you. Their wool is thick, dusty with snowflakes, their noses twitching. You scatter hay into their troughs. They move forward eagerly, a rare excitement in this otherwise drowsy season. Behind them, a lone calf stands, skinny, smaller than the others. You kneel beside it. Its fur is patchy, ears twitching. You reach out, stroke its head gently. The warmth of its body soaks into your gloved hand. You murmur something, not quite words, just a comfort. And you remember, a quirky old belief from long ago, that cows and sheep could sense the mood of the coming weather. If they were restless, a storm was said to be near. If they stood quietly calm and still, then skies would stay clear. Of course, historians still argue whether these were just superstitions, or if farmers had noticed patterns before science gave them the words. But standing here now, next to the quiet calf, you find a certain peace in the thought. Not everything needs proving to feel true. You finish feeding the animals, toss more hay, check the water trough crusted over with a skin of ice. You break it gently with a stick. The sound of cracking ice rings louder than expected. A tiny shatter in a world muffled by snow. By mid-morning, you return to your home. Your hands sting, your toes ache. Even through wool socks and layered boots, the cold has made its way in. Inside, the fire has faded further. You coax it gently, adding dry kindling, blowing softly until the flames rise again. The heat is slow to come. It doesn't rush, it unfurls. You sit near it, hands outstretched, feeling the blood return, tingling, prickling, but welcome. You prepare a meal, a simple one. Root vegetable soup, turnips, carrots, maybe a stray beet. You stir it in a cast iron pot, letting it bubble lazily as the smell begins to fill the small space. Bits of salted meat float to the top. Nothing fancy, but nourishing, enough to keep the cold at bay. You eat slowly, each bite warming more than just your stomach. The steam curls up like a spell, softening the air around you. making the walls feel closer, safer. When the bowl is empty, you rinse it with snow melted on the hearth. Water's scarce in winter, even something as simple as cleaning up feels sacred. Later, you pull out an old cloak. It's torn along one side, the edges frayed. You settle by the candlelight thread and needle in hand. Your fingers move slowly, working stitch by careful stitch. Patch by patch, you rebuild it. As you work, you wonder who wore it before you. A brother, a mother. Someone long gone, their memory stitched into every faded thread. You smile softly, imagining them braving winters just like this one. Outside, the wind picks up again. It pushes against the walls, a restless sound, like it's looking for a way inside. You wrap the cloak around your shoulders, testing the mend. It holds. And you think about those ancient legends. People once believed the cold wasn't just weather, it was alive. They spoke of frost spirits or towering giants made of snow and ice. Some said the wind carried whispers from another world. Others claimed you could see ghostly figures walking the forests during the coldest nights, guardians or watchers, or maybe just memories wearing winter's coat. You've never seen them. Not really. But sometimes in the corner of your eye, you think maybe something watches back. You breathe in deeply. The scent of smoke and wool, the weight of the cloak, the comfort of silence. You light another candle as the shadows stretch longer. The sun sets early these days, like it's tired too. You don't mind the dark. It brings its own kind of magic. A slower pace, a gentler way of being. You pull a small book from the shelf. The pages are worn, dog-eared, marked by hands that once turned them with the same care you do now. You read a little. A tale about a brave girl who crossed frozen mountains to find her lost brother. It feels distant and close at the same time. The wind howls outside, but here you are warm. Here you are safe. You close the book, stretch your arms, let your shoulders relax. The fire's glow has dimmed again, but you're ready. You blow out the candle. The room softens. You crawl beneath thick blankets, layers upon layers, each one a quiet hug. You close your eyes. And though winter still holds the world outside, it cannot touch the quiet inside you. You think of spring, not in detail, not yet just the idea of it. The shape of green, the sound of water running free again. It's enough. You let yourself drift, breathing slow, even, easy. Sleep finds you, and winter at least for tonight lets you go. You wake again, the room dim and quiet. Frost clings to the window panes, etching delicate patterns. Tiny frozen flowers pressed gently against glass. You lean in, close. Your breath fogs the glass, a soft cloud expanding and vanishing in the still morning air. The light beyond is faint and grey, as if the sun is hesitating behind a thick curtain of winter sky. Outside, the world remains sealed in silence. Winter holds its grip tight and stubborn. You pull your wool cloak tighter around your shoulders, its weight a small comfort, and step out into the crisp air. The ground crunches beneath your boots, each step a soft echo against the hush. Snow blankets every roof, every tree branch, every path, a soft white stillness, as though the whole world is holding its breath. Your day begins not with urgency, but with quiet ritual. You check the hearth, the bed of coals still glowing dimly. You coax the fire, gently feeding it small sticks, then larger logs. The flames rise, stretching upward like slow dancers. Their warmth seeps outward, tentative but welcome. Then comes the wood, always the wood. You gather armfuls from the pile near the door, stacked neatly but never enough. You pass the well on your way to the barn. Its surface is sealed over thin ice, stretched tight across the opening. You crouch beside it, tap the crust with a stick. It sings a hollow glassy note that hums in your chest. In the stillness of winter, even that sound feels alive. You pause a moment, remembering the old stories, how villagers used to whisper to the well, leaving crumbs of bread, scraps of ribbon, or tiny copper coins for the water spirits, keepers of the life beneath the frost. Historians still argue whether these rituals were rooted in reverence for nature or were simply gestures of hope, attempts to turn mystery into meaning. Maybe both. You dip your bucket, breaking through the film of ice, and pull up the water slowly. Cold and clear, it reflects the sky like a mirror. You carry it back with care, listening to it slosh softly with each step. At the barn, your breath forms clouds. The animals shuffle and snort, stepping cautiously on frozen straw. You greet them softly, familiar words in a quiet voice. The cows blink slowly, gentle eyes following your movement. The sheep huddle together in the corner, a mound of wool and warmth. You toss them hay dry, sweet smelling, and they begin to eat their mouths, moving in slow rhythm. One young lamb bleats sharply and you crouch to check on it. Its ears are cold. You tuck some extra straw beneath it. There's a moment, just a moment, where everything feels still. Not lifeless, just paused. The air holds steady. Even the wind seems to hesitate. You listen to your own breathing. In and out, the rhythm of survival. A quirky memory surfaces, something once said around a hearth in an older winter, that cows could sense bad weather. If they shifted their weight or looked restless, it meant a storm was on its way. You glance at them now, calm, content. You smile. Maybe today will hold steady. No storms, just a long, slow passage of cold. Scholars still puzzle over how much truth there is to these old animal signs. Were they superstitions, or just a farmer's careful observation passed down until it felt like magic? With the animals settled, you return home. Your cheeks sting from the cold and your fingers ache. You rub them near the hearth, grateful for even a little warmth. You start your evening meal early, a slow-cooked stew built from roots pulled from the cellar, dried herbs and a piece of salted pork. The pot simmers, filling the room with the rich scent of earth and smoke. You hum as you cook, soft, tuneless, the way your grandmother used to. There's an old belief, a whimsical one, that singing to your food makes it taste better. Not because of the sound, but because of the care behind it. The heart you put into each stir. You smile at the thought and keep humming. After dinner, you find your favorite chair, worn but steady, and pull a thick blanket around your shoulders. A small wooden box sits on the table. You open it slowly, lifting the lid as though it contains something sacred. Inside, a bundle of old letters, a pressed flower, a wooden comb, a ribbon faded pink. Each object holds weight. Not heavy, just full of memory. You turn one of the letters over in your hands. The edges are soft with age. You don't read it. You don't need to. You know what it says. You remember who wrote it. And more importantly, you remember how it felt to be written to be thought of across the miles and across the cold. Outside, the sky darkens. Snow begins again, falling in soft spirals. It coats the world like powdered sugar, gentle and quiet. The wind picks up, threading through eaves and corners, a sound both eerie and beautiful. You don't mind it tonight. It's a song you know well. The lullaby of winter. You light a candle as the last light fades. Its flame glows steady, a quiet companion. You take out your needle and thread working by its glow. A small hole in your glove, a patch needed on a sleeve. Stitch by stitch, you mend not just cloth, but time. Each pass of the needle feels like a tether to something solid. The world outside may be frozen, but here in this small act, there is warmth. You think of a legend, a snow witch who lived on a mountaintop, her breath cold enough to freeze rivers. But she was lonely, and each year she came down into the valleys, disguised as a storm. Looking not for destruction, but for stories, for songs. You wonder how many tales were offered up just to keep the wind at bay. The fire begins to settle. It crackles softly, then lowers to a steady glow. You wrap your blanket more tightly around yourself and curl your legs beneath you. The room is dim now, the candle flickering, casting long, gentle shadows. You sip a cup of warm water with honey, a tiny luxury. Its sweetness lingers on your tongue. You think of spring, of buds returning to branches of birdsong. It feels far away, but not impossible. You sit in the quiet for a while, watching snowflakes drift down past the window. Each one is different, or so you've been told. You believe it, because winter teaches you to notice the small things. The sparkle of frost on a railing, the echo of a footstep in still air, the heat of a cup held between cold hands. Eventually the candle guttered. You blow it out. The darkness isn't frightening. It's gentle like a thick blanket pulled over the day. You move to your bed, layers of wool and fur stacked high. You nestle in, tucking your hands beneath the covers, your body grateful for rest. Outside, the wind hums. Inside, your breath slows. In, out. The fire's glow pulses gently on the wall like a heartbeat. The cold is still out there, but here you are warm. You are safe. You let go of the day, piece by piece, and surrender to the quiet. Sleep comes slowly, and you welcome it wrapped in blankets, wrapped in silence, wrapped in winter. You wake slowly, the heavy quiet of dawn settling softly around you. The world is wrapped in stillness, like a thick quilt pulled over the earth. The cold has crept in during the night, inching its way across the room, and now frost clings to the edges of your window panes like delicate lace, tiny fragile patterns painted by the breath of winter itself. Each crystal forms a whisper of nature's artistry, a moment frozen in time. You sit up slowly, your joints stiff, feeling the familiar ache of chill that settles deep in your bones. Your breath clouds the air, drifting like soft smoke from your lips. Outside, the world lies silent beneath a heavy blanket of snow. The rooftops wear white caps, their lines softened by the weight of frost and flurry. The fields beyond are buried in a smooth sea of white and grey. No movement, no sound, just the deep hush of winter. It's a silence that speaks somehow, not empty, but full of secrets. You swing your legs over the side of the bed, and your feet meet the cold wooden floor with a quiet shiver. The chill greets you like an old relentless friend, one that never quite leaves your side during the long winter months. You wrap yourself in your thick cloak, pulling it tight around your shoulders. The fabric is heavy, but comforting, still holding the faint scent of wood smoke and thyme. With careful hands, you open the door, stepping into the fragile light of morning. The air outside is sharp and biting, but it holds a strange kind of clarity. It feels clean, like the first sip of icy water after a long dry thirst. Your breath curls in front of you, white and fleeting. Each exhale rises gently, then fades into the stillness like a whisper. The village stirs only slightly. Smoke curls lazily from chimneys, rising in long grey ribbons that twist upward into the pale sky. Icicles hang from eaves, catching the weak morning light and glinting like old glass. You take a deep breath, and the cold floods your lungs. Each inhale reminds you you are alive, still moving through this frozen world. It's not just about enduring the cold. It's about listening to it, respecting its presence like a visitor who will not leave until it is ready. You walk slowly toward the fields beyond the village. Each step presses gently into the snow, leaving behind soft footprints that mark your passage in a world otherwise untouched. The fences are half buried, their wooden slats weathered by wind and time. The once busy paths are hidden, now covered by snowdrifts that reshape the land. You think of old stories, ones passed down from elder to child. Stories of farmers in bitter winters burying precious seeds deep in frozen soil. They whispered promises to the earth, hoping that when spring returned, those hidden seeds would feel the warmth and remember how to grow. It was an act of faith, of gentle defiance. Even under frost and silence, hope sleeps like a seed. As you walk, the snow crunches softly beneath your boots, a quiet rhythm in the vast hush. It's a sound that makes you feel both very small and very present. Back in the village square, a few figures begin to stir. A woman steps out of her doorway, a thick shawl wrapped around her shoulders. She hums to herself a soft melody that dances in the cold air. Another villager wrapped in fur checks the traps near the edge of the forest, but they are empty this morning. The animals are wiser in winter. Even they hunker down, waiting for easier days. You exchange small nods with those you pass. No need for words. The understanding is shared, we endure together. We wait, we tend. We carry on until the snow decides to lift its hand from the land. Smoke drifts from a chimney nearby, twisting slowly into the sky like a sleepy serpent. Its path is lazy and unhurried, just like everything else on mornings like this. And suddenly a thought, a strange quiet memory drifts up from the folds of your mind. You remember reading once that long ago people used snow as medicine. Cold, clean snow pressed against a fevered brow, packed into wounds to draw out heat and swelling. The same snow that stole warmth from the living was also used to protect it. You smile to yourself at the irony. The same hand that threatens you might also save you. It's a delicate balance, a truth that winter holds in its palm. Historians still debate whether those old remedies were truly helpful, or if they were born of desperation, a way to make meaning out of something that could not be controlled. But maybe, just maybe, there was a little wisdom in those ways. Even in the coldest moments, humans look for ways to heal. You return home, your cheeks flushed from the wind, your fingers stiff. The fire has burned low. You kneel beside it, coaxing it back to life. Small sticks, careful breaths, a ritual as old as the hearth itself. The embers glow again, soft orange and gold, like sleeping eyes slowly opening. You feed the flames with patience. You feed them with hope. With the fire crackling, you prepare your midday meal. Nothing fancy, just a thin broth of dried herbs, a piece of salted meat, a few bits of root vegetable. The scent rises as it warms, earthy, smoky, simple. But in this quiet world, even the simplest food feels like a blessing. You sit by the hearth, cradling a warm bowl in your hands. Each sip sends warmth through your body like a candle lit from the inside. It isn't much, but it's enough. You close your eyes, breathe deeply, and let the peace of it sink in. And then a soft smile. A memory returns. You remember an old tradition, a belief held by some cooks in forgotten kitchens. That food tasted better when sung to. That humming or whispering a tune while stirring a pot infused it with comfort. Not just flavor, but love. You hum now a gentle lullaby to no one in particular. Maybe it's nonsense, or maybe it's the kind of magic that needs no proof. After your meal, you reach for a small wooden box on the shelf. Its surface is smooth polished by years of touch. Inside, you've tucked away treasures, letters, tokens of ribbon once worn in someone's hair. They are quiet things, but they speak volumes. Each one holds a story. Not grand, but real. You lift a letter, the ink faded, the paper soft. You don't read it. You don't need to. The feeling it carries is still there, the way your name was once written, with care, with longing. You place the letter back gently, as though it might sigh with relief. Outside, the wind rises again. It whistles around the corners of your home, rattling the shutters and sighing beneath the eaves. It is not angry, just old, tired perhaps. It sings a song that is part lullaby, part memory. You pull your blanket tighter around your shoulders, settling in as the fire fades to glowing coals. You listen to the wind's voice, haunting familiar. It is the sound of winter itself, not something to fear, something to understand. You lie down, slowly letting your weight sink into the warmth of your bed. The cold remains beyond the walls, but it cannot reach you here. Not now. You close your eyes and feel your breath slow, each inhale and exhale like the turning of pages in a well-loved book. Before sleep finds you, you think of spring. Not in longing, but in quiet expectation. You picture the first crocus pushing through soft soil, the return of birdsong, the warmth of sunlight on your face. It will come. Not today, and maybe not tomorrow, but it will. And for now, you rest. Wrapped in wool, wrapped in silence, wrapped in the soft, enduring hush of winter. You wake slowly, as if the morning itself is reluctant to begin. The dim light of dawn filters softly through the frosted window, casting pale, fragile patterns across the room. The chill lingers stubbornly, wrapping the space in a cool, quiet hush that settles into your bones. Outside, the snow lies thick and undisturbed, a vast white blanket, stretching far beyond the village, covering fields, fences and rooftops alike. It muffles sounds, making the world feel still, as though waiting patiently beneath winter's heavy hand. You inhale deeply, drawing the cold air into your lungs. It is sharp like the snap of ice, cracking, but also strangely refreshing. Each breath reminds you gently, but firmly, that you are alive, moving through a frozen world that seems paused in time. The slow, steady rhythm of your breath becomes your anchor in this quiet morning. You sit up carefully, feeling the stiffness of the night in your muscles. Your feet meet the wooden floor, cold and unyielding, sending a shiver up your spine. You reach for your cloak, wrapping its thick folds tightly around your shoulders before stepping outside into the sharp morning air. The village around you is waking in its own slow way. Smoke curls lazily from chimneys, twisting and curling like thin grey snakes reaching for the pale sky. Bare trees stand as dark skeletons, their branches etched sharply against the soft grey light. Everything seems still, yet beneath that stillness, there is a sense of waiting of lives, quietly preparing for another day beneath winter's long shadow. Your footsteps crunch softly in the snow as you make your way toward the village well. The surface is frozen solid, a sheet of glass-like ice that catches the light faintly and gleams in the early morning. You tap gently on the ice with a stick. The sound is hollow and clear, like a distant bell ringing in the silence. Beneath the frozen surface, the cold water waits hidden and silent, trapped beneath winter's grip. You remember the old stories whispered by your elders. They said the well was guarded by spirits, invisible protectors watching over the village's lifeblood. Offerings were left near the well, crumbs of bread coins, small tokens to keep the water flowing through the harshest months. Whether these were acts of superstition, respect, or early environmental wisdom, they showed how people sought connection with the world around them, even when that world seemed cold and merciless. Historians still argue whether these rituals were early forms of environmental awareness or simply ways to explain the unknown forces that shaped their lives. Either way, they reveal how deeply humans long to find meaning in the quiet mysteries surrounding them. Carefully, you break through the ice with your stick and fill your bucket with the biting cold water beneath. The sensation is sharp, almost painful, but there is a stubborn comfort in this small act, a quiet defiance against winter's hold. It is a promise to keep living, keep moving forward despite the frozen silence. As you turn toward the barn, the animals inside stir softly. Sheep huddle together in thick bundles of wool, their warm breath misting the chilly air. You offer them hay, watching as they nibble quietly, comforted by the familiar routine, by the steady rhythm of survival. The cows seem calmer today, one reaching out with a rough tongue to lick your hand, a small living reminder that life endures even in the coldest months. Stepping back outside, the cold bites again sharp against your skin. The sky has brightened a little, the sun a pale, weak disk behind a veil of heavy clouds. It's a subtle shift, almost imperceptible, but enough to lift the spirit, if only just a little. Inside your home, you prepare the evening meal from the larder's modest offerings: root vegetables, dried herbs, salted meat. The fire crackles softly as water boils in a worn pot, and soon the scent of stew fills the air, earthy and smoky, a comforting contrast to the frozen silence outside. You hum a soft tune as you cook, recalling an old medieval belief that singing to your food made it taste better. Whether true or not, the melody carries warmth and hope into the quiet kitchen. After the meal, you settle close to the fire with a small wooden box. It is worn and smooth from years of handling, filled with letters, trinkets, and keepsakes from days before the long winter. Tracing the faded ink and worn carvings with your fingers, you feel a connection to those who lived before you, their stories folded gently into these fragile relics. It is strange how objects can hold memories, how memories can carry you through long, dark winters. Outside, the wind begins to rise, rattling the window panes and shaking the eaves. It sounds like a distant song, wild, haunting, and ancient. You pull your blankets tighter around your shoulders, feeling the fire's warmth fade to soft embers. You close your eyes, breathing slowly, letting the cold drift away with each exhale. The wind's song becomes the music of winter, timeless, endless, and full of secrets. Before sleep takes you fully, your thoughts turn to spring, the slow, steady promise of light and warmth to come. It is a soft beacon at the end of the long night, a whisper of hope carried on the cold wind. You breathe in deeply, then exhale softly, and then gently you drift away into sleep, wrapped in the quiet peace of winter's embrace. You wake this morning to a sky so heavy it seems to press down on the earth itself. Thick grey clouds stretch endlessly overhead, muffling the light and casting the village into a soft, muted twilight, even though the sun is well above the horizon. The air is crisp, biting slightly at your cheeks, while a fresh layer of snow has fallen silently during the night. Everything is covered in that familiar blanket of white, softening the shapes of buildings and trees, and turning the world into something almost otherworldly, quiet, still untouched. You pull your cloak tighter around your shoulders, the wool rough but comforting against your skin, and step outside. The crunch of snow underfoot is sharp, clean, and oddly satisfying in the stillness. Your breath rises in pale clouds, drifting away quickly in the cold morning air. The village feels quieter than usual, softened, wrapped in winter's slow, steady embrace. Today you decide to head toward the edge of the forest, where the tall trees stand like silent sentinels, their bare branches etched sharply against the dull grey sky. The forest always feels different in winter. The absence of leaves exposes every branch, every twig, like intricate lacework frozen in time. You pause for a moment at the boundary, breathing in the pine-scented air. A faint rustle echoes through the branches, a whisper of wind weaving its way between the trees, telling stories that have traveled here for centuries. You think of the hunters and gatherers who long ago braved this very forest in winter's grip. They moved quietly beneath the canopy ears, sharp for the snap of a twig eyes, scanning for faint animal tracks hidden in snow and ice. Some say these early villagers possessed an almost supernatural intuition, an ability to read the forest's subtle signals like a secret language. Historians still argue whether this skill was learned through experience or something more instinctual passed down, like a secret inheritance from one generation to the next. You reach out to touch the rough bark of a nearby pine tree. The cold bites through your gloves, but the texture beneath your fingers feels alive, even in the frozen season. It's hard to imagine this forest as anything but silent and lifeless now, but deep beneath the snow roots, cling stubbornly to the earth, waiting patiently for the warmth of spring's first light. You continue your slow walk, following a narrow path that meanders deeper into the woods. Suddenly, you come across a small clearing where the snow has been disturbed, a patch of dark earth exposed, as if some unseen creature recently passed through. You crouch down to examine it closely, brushing away the snow gently with your gloved hand. The prints are small, delicate, perhaps a fox or a hare, making its careful way through the frozen wilderness. You wonder how these animals manage to survive such merciless cold. Their fur thickens like armor, their bodies slow their pace to conserve energy, and their instincts sharpen to a razor's edge. It's a delicate dance of survival, one performed in silence and shadow beneath winter's long, unyielding rain. Back in the village, the afternoon light begins to fade early, stealing away warmth and color. You make your way to the communal fire pit, where villagers gather each evening to share stories, food, and warmth. The fire crackles, sending a cascade of sparks skyward, tiny stars flickering against the darkening sky. The rich scent of burning wood fills the air, mixing with the earthy aroma of snow and soil. You settle down near the fire, feeling its gentle heat seep into your frozen fingers and toes. Around you, the villagers begin weaving tales, stories that have passed through countless winters. Some speak of fierce storms that buried entire farms in snow, of unexpected falls that melted the ice too soon, threatening the fragile crops. Others tell lighter tales, full of humor and warmth, jokes about frozen beards, stiff as icicles, or stubborn animals refusing to leave their cozy barns despite the hunger gnawing outside. These moments of laughter are small victories against the endless cold sparks of life in the frozen dark. You listen quietly, letting the stories wrap around you like a soft blanket, weaving a sense of belonging and continuity. Outside, the wind begins to pick up, howling gently around the corners of the buildings, rattling shutters and stirring the loose snow into swirling dances. But inside, by the fire's warm glow, there is light and laughter, the steady beat of human connection beating back the harshness of winter. As the night deepens, you return to your home, the village now a constellation of glowing windows scattered across the snowy landscape. The cold presses in, but inside you find refuge in thick blankets and a crackling hearth. You settle into bed, the warmth seeping into your tired body, and let your thoughts drift. The wind outside softens to a distant murmur, a lullaby whispered by winter itself. You breathe deeply, letting the cold and quiet wrap you gently. The world beyond your walls may be frozen and still, but here, wrapped in warmth and memories, you find peace. Your thoughts wander to spring, the slow, steady promise of returning light and warmth. It is a beacon in the long night, a whisper of hope, carried on the cold breath of winter. With one last deep breath, you close your eyes, letting sleep carry you away into the quiet peace of winter's embrace. You wake slowly this morning, as if your mind and body are rising together from the soft, dark depths of sleep. Your eyes blink open to a pale, silvery light that filters gently through your small window. There is something different in the air, something hushed, like the world itself is holding its breath. You sit up slowly, the chill of the morning brushing softly against your skin, and glance outside. Overnight, the world has changed. Every tree, every rooftop, every blade of grass is coated in a thin, delicate shell of ice. It sparkles faintly, like 1,000 tiny crystals scattered across the land by an invisible hand. The air is still and crisp, the kind of cold that gently bites at your cheeks, but feels clean and sharp with every breath you take. You breathe out, and a soft cloud of warmth escapes your lips, floating up and away, vanishing into the quiet morning air. The village lies in stillness beneath this frozen veil. The buildings, the wells, the fences, everything is wrapped in white. Snow softens, the world blurs the edges, muffles sound, and makes every step feel sacred. There is a reverent hush in the air, a silence that invites you to pause, to breathe deeply, to simply be. You pull your cloak tighter around your shoulders. The wool is coarse but comforting, like a familiar voice in a dream. Then slowly, you step outside. The first thing you notice is the sound, that crisp, clean crunch of your boots pressing into the fresh snow. Each step echoes faintly in the stillness, a quiet rhythm that keeps you grounded. It's a small sound, but in this quiet world, even small sounds carry far. They become music. You make your way through the village, past shuttered windows and chimneys trailing ribbons of smoke. Everything feels slower, quieter, more deliberate. It's as though time itself has thickened with the cold. You pass by a neighbor stacking wood, his breath rising like steam as he nods silently in greeting. No words are needed. In winter, even conversation seems softer, simpler. You keep walking, drawn toward the edge of the frozen river that winds like a sleeping ribbon through the valley below. The river is silent now, its once lively surface hidden beneath thick, cloudy ice. You crouch near the edge, brushing a glove along a fallen branch, its surface coated in frost. There's a roughness to the bark that feels grounding, real and solid in a world turned fragile and bright. The patterns on the ice catch your eye. Intricate veins of frost stretch across its surface like lace, like lightning frozen mid-strike. Each line, each swirl, perfectly unique. Nature's delicate calligraphy, written in silence and cold. You remember the stories, old tales passed down from generation to generation of river spirits that guard these waters in winter, protecting the life beneath, keeping it safe until springs thaw. Some people still leave small offerings by the bank, bits of bread, a coin, a folded note of thanks. Some say it's superstition. Others say it's wisdom older than memory. You stand in the stillness, letting those thoughts drift through you like snowflakes on a breeze. The cold seeps through your gloves, but it no longer feels sharp. It simply is, present, alive, a reminder that you are here, a part of this landscape. You rise and begin the walk back. The sky is dimming now, even though the day feels barely begun. In winter, the sun is shy. Its light is soft and fleeting, slipping away before you can fully hold it. Villagers move quietly through the streets, now finishing chores before the darkness returns. The scent of burning wood begins to drift through the air, earthy and warm. It mixes with the cold and creates a fragrance that feels like home. Back inside the village hall, the heart of the community, a soft hum fills the air. Kitchens are busy now. Hands chop root vegetables, turnips, carrots, parsnips. Pots simmer over open flames. The scent of rosemary and bay leaf hangs gently in the air. You take a seat near the fire pit, letting the warmth wrap around you like a familiar embrace. The fire crackles softly, its orange light dancing along the stone walls, chasing away the shadows. Around you, people begin to gather. Not in loud celebration, but in gentle companionship. Conversations flow slowly, like warm honey, between sips of broth and laughter. And then the stories begin. One voice at a time, rising and falling with the rhythm of memory. Tales of winters past, of storms that buried rooftops of snow so deep you could walk from the ground, straight onto the roof of your neighbor's house. Of sudden thaws that turned rivers wild and fields to mud. Of animals who refused to come out of their barns, stubborn and wise in their own way. Laughter bubbles gently in the corners of the room. It isn't loud or boisterous. It's the kind of laughter that warms from the inside like soup after a long walk in the snow. There's comfort in these stories, not just in the telling, but in the remembering. They remind you that others have lived through this before, that you are part of a long, unbroken chain of people who have braved the cold, endured the dark, and found light in one another. The wind picks up outside. It whistles faintly through the cracks in the shutters, a soft and mournful sound. But inside, the fire holds strong. And so do you. You rise from your seat and make your way home, your boots crunching again in the snow. The sky above is ink dark, now scattered with stars. The village glows softly beneath it, each window a flicker of golden light, like lanterns floating on a sea of white. When you step through your door, the warmth greets you like an old friend. You shed your cloak and move toward the hearth where the fire still burns low. You add a log, coaxing the flame to life again. It catches slowly, then flares with a gentle whoosh, casting soft shadows across the room. You change into thick woolen clothes and pull your heaviest blanket around your shoulders. The weight of it is grounding safe. You sit for a moment beside the fire, sipping warm tea from a worn clay mug. Steam curls upward, and with it, your thoughts begin to wander. You think of the river silent but not still, of the birds stepping lightly across ice, of the voices near the fire carrying warmth through the long night, and of spring. Not yet here, but already present in quiet promises. The way a root holds life beneath frozen soil. The way the sun lingers just a moment longer each evening. It is a promise soft and sure, a whisper beneath the snow. When the last of the tea is gone, you rise and climb into bed. The The covers settle over you like snow on a roof, quiet, soft, protective. You curl beneath them, letting your body sink into stillness. The wind continues to sing outside a low, melodic hum. Not frightening, but familiar. Like the voice of winter itself, whispering lullabies older than language. Your eyes grow heavy. Your breathing slows. The fire crackles faintly in the distance. You think once more of those stories, the ancient ones and the ones still being told. And then as your mind drifts gently into sleep, the world fades. The cold, the quiet, the beauty of ice and snow, all of it blurs into something soft and distant. You are safe, you are warm. And tomorrow the snow will still be there, quiet, patient waiting. But for now you sleep, and winter watches over you. You wake slowly to a soft grey morning. The kind of morning that doesn't rush you, but lingers gently at your windowsill, asking you to pause. Outside, the sky is heavy, a pale, swollen dome of cloud hanging low and unmoving. The air is still yet charged with the promise of snow, yet to fall. You feel the cold before you even rise. It leans against the glass, a quiet, steady presence, not cruel, not sharp, just insistent. You wrap yourself in layers, your old cloak thick and worn, its fibers rough from use, but warm like the embrace of a dear friend. You've worn it through many seasons, and it holds their memory in every thread. As you step outside, the world greets you not with noise, but with silence, a hush so complete that it feels like even the wind has gone still. The trees rise dark and bare their branches etched against the sky like black ink on parchment. They don't move. They simply stand watchful and waiting, each limb a delicate line in winter's frozen sketchbook. Beneath your boots, the snow crunches. It's the kind of sound you can feel in your bones, sharp, clean each step, a small song in the quiet. You begin your slow walk toward the heart of the village. There the old stone well sits silent, its opening sealed with a thick lid of ice. In warmer months, this is where voices rise, children laughing, women chatting, as they draw watermen pausing in conversation. But now the well is silent. Still. A white crown of frost gleams across its surface. It's strange to see something once so alive turned quiet, but it's not a sad stillness. It's peaceful. Like the well is sleeping, guarding something deep within. The villagers prepared for this, as they always do. They filled barrels and jars before the first freeze. They rationed carefully, knowing how long the nights would stretch. These rituals, quiet, practical, passed from parent to child, are the threads that hold the village together. Along the path you see neighbors moving slowly, bundled tightly in layers of wool and fur. Their eyes meet yours, and with each brief nod, a silent bond is acknowledged. We are here. We are enduring. Even in the deepest cold, there's a dignity in this shared effort. A group of children are nearby, their laughter muffled under scarves like birdsong under snow. They shape little animals and heroes from the white ground, tiny foxes, wide-eyed deer, brave hunters frozen mid-step. Their breath clouds the air quick and warm, and their cheeks are red with cold but shining with joy. You pause to watch them, not because they need help, but because their presence is a reminder. A spark. Even in the grip of winter, even when the world slows, life insists on joy. You linger at the well for a moment longer. Some of the elders say it's sacred, that the well holds more than water, that it keeps the spirit of the village alive through the longest nights. They tell stories of winters so cruel that even the firewood ran low, but the well, though frozen, remained a place where people gathered to whisper wishes into the ice, to leave small offerings. Are the stories true? Historians argue, but whether truth or tale, they carry the weight of something real, something shared. Moving again, you pass the blacksmith's shop, where a warm glow flickers through the small sooty window. Inside, you can just see him broad-backed, focused, tending the forge. Even now, in the slow season he works. There are hinges to fix tools, to mend iron hooks, to shape for hanging pots over fire. His hammer strikes with a steady rhythm, a low heartbeat of iron against iron. Sparks fly like fireflies, brief and golden. You smile, comforted by the familiarity of it, the way some things continue, even when everything else lies dormant. The scent of burning wood floats through the air, sweet and dry and smoky. It curls into your nose, into your memory. This is what home smells like in winter. Fire frost, and something older. Something earthbound and enduring. As you return to your own small cottage, you notice the rooftops. Each one dusted with soft white chimneys, breathing out thin ribbons of smoke. The village glows now, not with sun but with firelight. Windows flicker, Lanterns glow. It's like looking at a constellation scattered gently across the snow. Inside, your fire still burns low and warm, casting a gentle amber glow across the walls. You settle beside it, stretching cold fingers toward the flames, watching the dance of shadow and light. The heat is slow but sure. It finds your skin and sinks deeper. Outside, evening falls early. Winter does not linger at the edge of night. It slips quickly into it, folding the village into dusk long before the hour feels right. The wind begins to stir again, gentle but restless. It brushes against the shutters, rustles through the bare trees, singing softly in a language you almost understand. You close your eyes for a moment, listening. Not to hear, but to feel. To feel the rhythm of winter. Not just the cold, but the pulse beneath it. The way life doesn't stop, it simply slows, moves inward, gathers close and waits. You think of the days ahead, the firewood to ration, the stew to prepare. But you also think of the evenings, sitting with neighbors telling stories by firelight, passing down memory like a shared thread. The village elders speak of winters so bitter, the lakes froze solid so long that children forgot the smell of grass. But they also speak of survival of laughter, echoing in stone cottages, of songs sung into the night of hope that stubbornly stayed, even when spring seemed lost. You recall a curious tradition. In some places long ago, people burned evergreen boughs indoors to invite back the green, to remind the world that it wouldn't stay white forever. Historians still argue, was it ritual or reason, faith or fragrance? Perhaps it was all of it. The smell of pine and fire, the shimmer of light on cold nights, a small rebellion against despair. Outside now the village is hushed again. The lanterns flicker like stars. An owl calls softly from somewhere beyond. A cat slinks silently along a narrow fence, its movement fluid and certain. And you pull your quilt up higher, letting it drape over your shoulders like a cloak made of dreams. The hearth's warmth still lingers on your skin, a quiet memory of fire and care. The wind hums on, not harsh now, but lulling. It is the voice of winter, steady, soft, ancient. You close your eyes. Your mind floats gently over the day, the hush of snow, the well's frozen silence, the blacksmith's sparks, the children's laughter, the stories waiting to be told. And beneath it all, the quiet, patient truth of winter, that even in stillness there is life. Even in silence there is song. Even in sleep there is the promise of waking. So you rest, not in fear, but in peace. For spring is not gone, it is only sleeping beneath the snow, beneath your dreams waiting. And you are part of that waiting, warm wrapped in night and held gently in winter's quiet hand. You wake to a morning painted soft with the faintest blush of dawn. The sky, a pale canvas stretched wide above the village, wears delicate streaks of pink and gold, as if the light itself is whispering a quiet greeting. The cold is still here, yes, a steady presence wrapped in the air, but it feels less fierce this morning, softened by the gentle promise of the day ahead. Outside, the village stirs slowly to life. There is no rush here, only a delicate symphony of muted footsteps on frost-crisped paths, the quiet murmur of voices just waking, and the soft sigh of wind weaving through bare branches. The snow glistens faintly dusted with frost that catches the first light like tiny stars scattered across the earth. Each sparkling flake is a frozen breath, a silent shimmer woven into the fabric of morning. You breathe deeply. The cold air fills your lungs sharp, yet somehow sweet, a fresh beginning wrapped in a blanket of chill. Stepping outside, your boots press gently into the snow, leaving prints that trace familiar shapes in the quiet landscape. Long shadows stretch lazily across the white ground, their softened edges melting slowly as the sun climbs. The village feels peaceful, held tenderly in winter's embrace, yet quietly alive with the steady pulse of daily routines. The baker's warm glow spills softly from the oven's window, promising fresh bread and simple comfort. A soft golden light shines like a beacon, inviting and homey. Smoke rises steadily from chimneys, thin and steady ribbons curling skyward, marking hearths where families gather to share stories and warmth. You walk slowly toward the outskirts of the village, where fields give way to the dark silhouette of the forest. Here the silence deepens. It is a profound stillness, broken only by the faint crack of ice beneath your feet, or the distant sharp call of a lone crow. The trees stand like ancient sentinels, their branches brittle and frosted, creaking softly in the morning breeze. There is a calm in this stillness, a deep-rooted patience that feels like a secret passed down through countless winters. You think of the many who have walked this path before you, farmers, hunters, children, all who have known the harshness and beauty of this frozen season. Pausing beside a frozen stream, you gaze at the water trapped beneath a sheet of glassy ice. Tiny bubbles lie just beneath the surface, caught and frozen in time, delicate treasures preserved in crystal. Your fingers brush the cold surface, gently marveling at nature's quiet artistry. Historians still debate how medieval people saw winter. Was it a season of death or rest? Some say it was feared, a time when life paused and hardship reigned. Others believe it was embraced, a necessary pause in life's endless cycle, a quiet time for reflection and renewal. Perhaps it was both a season of hardship and a companion to quiet reflection. Turning back toward the village, you notice the footprints left by earlier travelers, paths woven like threads connecting homes and hearts. It is a reminder that even in isolation, no one here truly stands alone. The strength of community is felt in every shared meal, in every kind word, in every fire burning steadily against the cold. The day grows brighter, and with the pale sun casting gentle warmth, you make your way home. Inside, the familiar comfort of your hearth awaits a steady glow to welcome you back from the chill. As night falls, the village settles into a gentle hush, the snow muffling the world outside. You lie down, the weight of blankets, soft and embracing the rhythm of your breath, slow and even. Outside, the wind whispers softly, a lullaby woven from the cold, a promise that this too shall pass. The long winter night stretches ahead, but within your cozy room there is peace. A quiet certainty that beneath the frozen earth life stirs gently, waiting for warmth to return. Wrapped in the soft glow of home, you drift slowly into sleep, cradled by the enduring rhythm of the seasons. Now as you settle deeper into your bed, feel the gentle pull of sleep, drawing you down slower and slower, softer and softer. Let the world outside fade away, the cold, the silence, the weight of snow and ice. Imagine instead the quiet warmth of hearth fires, glowing gently in the distance, the faint hum of a winter wind singing through bare branches. Breathe in slowly. Feel your body relax, heavy but comfortable, sinking into the softness beneath you. Each breath carries you further into calm, deeper into rest. The stories you've heard tonight of frozen rivers, silent wells, flickering fires, and the resilient people who live through the harshest seasons linger like a gentle flame flickering softly at the edge of your mind. They remind you that even in the coldest times there is life, warmth and hope. Let these images fade slowly now, like snow melting under a soft spring sun. The chill retreats, the hush grows deeper, your thoughts grow quiet. Sleep is near. Let it come easily. Good night and sweet dreams.